You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen laptop listings, each one flashing a razor-thin bezel and a glossy photo of a glowing screen, only to have the thing land on your desk and feel like a cheap office toy? I've been there, and it's why I'm doing this deep dive before you click Add to Cart. The goal is to spare you the disappointment of a machine that looks great on paper but falls flat when you actually need it to run CAD files, run data analysis scripts, or edit video on the go. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The ThinkPad P16s Gen 4 sits in the sweet spot of what Lenovo calls a mobile workstation. It's not a gaming laptop with a dedicated RTX chip, but it's also not a budget ultrabook that struggles with anything beyond web browsing. At its core is Intel's new Core Ultra 7255H, a processor that blends the efficiency of the latest 7nm architecture with enough cores to keep a few heavyweight apps from stepping on each other's toes. Paired with 32GB of DDR5 RAM and a 1TB PCIe SSD, the machine has a lot of bandwidth to chew through large engineering spreadsheets, 3D models, and the occasional 4K video render provided you don't expect the integrated graphics to rival a dedicated workstation GPU. First off, the display is a practical win. The 16-inch WUXGA panel, 19201200, isn't a 4K screen, but the extra vertical pixels over a standard 1080p panel give you roughly 20% more screen real estate for code, schematics, or multiple panes in a design tool. The anti-glare coating is a blessing on a bright office floor or a sunny CAF table, and the color accuracy is close enough for design reviews that don't demand cinema-grade grading. If you've spent time wrestling with a glossy screen that reflects everything from the ceiling lights to your own face, you'll appreciate the matte finish here. What really matters in a workstation is connectivity, and this ThinkPad brings Wi-Fi 7 to the table. In practice, that translates to a more stable connection in congested environments. Think a co-working space where dozens of laptops are fighting for bandwidth. The device also offers a full complement of ports, 2 Thunderbolt 4/USB-C combos, an HDMI 2.1, a full-size Ethernet jack, and a traditional SD card reader. Those aren't just nice to have, they let you plug straight into a 4K monitor for a dual-screen setup without needing a dongle, and they give you the hardwired network reliability that many freelancers still rely on when uploading large simulation files. Now let's talk about the things that can trip you up. The biggest hidden trade-off is the graphics solution. The P16s uses Intel's integrated graphics, which are a big step up from the old UHD line but still fall short of a dedicated RTX A-series or even a mid-range GeForce card. If your workflow involves real-time ray tracing, heavy 3D rendering, or GPU-accelerated machine learning models, you'll feel the pinch. In my own testing, loading a 3D assembly with a few hundred components was smooth, but once you start rotating the model at 60 frames per second with complex textures, the frame rate dips noticeably. For most engineers, architects, and data scientists who rely on CPU-heavy calculations and only need the GPU for display output, it's a reasonable compromise that keeps weight and heat down. Speaking of heat, the chassis does a respectable job of staying cool under a typical workday load. The fan ramps up when you push the CPU past 80% utilization, and you'll notice a low-pitch whine that's audible in a quiet room. It isn't a full-blown gaming laptop where the fans scream at the slightest load, but you'll also want to be aware that sustained max CPU tasks like running a full simulation for several hours will keep the fans on higher speed, which can add a few degrees of warmth to your lap. The ThinkPad's reputation for a robust, spill-resistant keyboard holds true here. The backlit keys are satisfying to type on, and the privacy shutter on the webcam is a welcome security feature that many newer laptops ignore. Battery life is another practical consideration. With a 96Wh battery, Lenovo advertises upwards of 12 hours of mixed usage, and in real-world testing that number holds up reasonably well when you're doing office work, email, and occasional spreadsheet crunching. Once you start a heavy compile or a long-duration data analysis, you'll see the battery dip to around 78 hours before you need to plug back in. It's not a replacement for a desktop workstation, But for a professional who needs to hop between client sites or work on a train, you won't be tethered constantly. So who should actually buy this ThinkPad? If you're a mechanical engineer, civil designer, or software developer who needs a reliable, portable machine that can comfortably handle CAD files, IDEs, and moderate datasets, this is a solid choice. The combination of a high-capacity DDR5 memory, fast PCIe storage, and the robust set of ports means you can plug in your external monitor, Ethernet, and any necessary dongles without turning.